everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to day 2 of the Valentine's Day card series. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm using the Love and Valentine's Word Mix 2 from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to be using the larger stamp set at the bottom. I'm also going to be using Lipstick Red and Hollyhock inks from Simon as well. I went ahead and I placed down a piece of paper into my MISTI. And then I'm going to grab the entire stamp set, that bottom part that I showed you. Now you can see I already used this and it's well loved already. I'm going to place this down onto that Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock. And I'm just making sure that I can get everything right on this piece of paper. Now, I did not purchase the dies for this. By the time I wanted to purchase the dies, they were already out of stock. So instead, I'm going to use all of this on a background. Now, since I have everything lined up, I can close my MISTI lid and then pick that up. Now, I want to do a little bit of an ombre look here. So I'm going to use both of those inks, but to use it correctly, I'm going to grab myself a little sponge dauber. And this is going to allow me to control where I place down this ink. So the first ink I'm using is that Hollyhock, and I'm tapping it onto the areas that I want to be this color pink. Now there's another way to do this as well, and I'm going to show you that a little bit later in the video. But for right now, I'm just going to share with you, if you only had 2 separate ink pads, how you can get a pretty gradient by doing it this way. So again, I'm just tapping on the pink color of where I want it to be on this stamp. Now you can easily add several colors to this if you wanted to, but of course it's Valentine's Day, so I'm just going to stick to the pink and red. And it is okay if your colors blend, that's perfectly fine as well. Now since I have that inked up, I will close down my MISTI lid. And since some of these images are like large images, they might not stamp as firmly the first time. So it's okay if you have to go back in there and ink it up a second time. So I have all of my colors done, but it's not as crisp as I want it. So I'm going to repeat that process again of just inking up those areas that I want pink. I can go ahead and close down my MISTI lid, give it a good press. And as you can see, I'm rubbing and then gently or actually forcefully pressing down with my fingertips just to make sure that I get a good impression on this one. Now I can pull that paper back, and now I have those pink sections done. Now I want to move on to the next color, and that's going to be the lipstick red. But I do want to make sure that I just kind of get this red in the areas where I did not add the pink. Again, I'm going for a little bit of an ombre look that I have like some areas of pink and then some areas of red. Also, what you can do is overlap if you wanted to on like some of the sentiment ones. You can overlap with the red as well and give that part of ombre look. But I just kind of want the ombre look to go across the panel, not necessarily be just contained to one area. So again, I'm pressing down pretty firmly. And when I lift up, I get a nice shade of red and then I get a nice shade of pink. And over there up on the left-hand corner in that little word area, I have both shades. So this is a good way if you're using a large stamp like this and you don't want to cut that stamp set apart, because I would probably faint if I even took some scissors to this stamp set. Just to be honest, I do not cut my stamp sets apart. I'm going to go ahead and press that down again, giving good pressure, and then I can flip that over and look what I have. I have the pink and red all together on that one stamp. Now I'm going to show you an ombre ink pad from Hero Art. Now before I get started, I do want to make sure I clean this stamp. So I'm using my Ink on 3 cleaner. And I love this cleaner. I kind of like let it sit and hang out for a minute and then like get all into the grooves. And then I can come in with a baby wipe and you're going to see how much ink I can get off of that stamp. Now with these kind of stamps, Some of them will stain because of the red color, but that's okay. It does not affect the stamping and the quality of your images. Just know if you don't want this to be stained, you probably don't want to use a red. So now I'm going to wipe that down with my microfiber cloth and clean that up so it's not wet. And then I can go on and start stamping. Now I lined up another piece of paper, making sure that I have the image lined up where I need it to be. And now I'm going to pick up that ombre ink pad. Now this ombre ink pad is going to have 3 colors built in. So I have a pink, a medium pink, and a darker pink. These ink pads are beautiful for doing ombre ink colors. So as you can see, I'm just kind of tapping all around the top part of that stamp set, just putting that color down. And then I will flip my lid or flip my ink pad so the 2 darker areas match up, and then there's light, medium and light on the ends. So now I can close down my MISTI lid, and you're going to see what I mean when I say that the pretty ombre is already in the ink pad. Once I press that down, I can go ahead and pull back, and you're going to see all pretty colors. Look, you can see all that ombre, and I didn't have to use a dauber to do that. So that's another way to get that great ombre look, is to get yourself some ombre pads. So again, I'm going to do that little dance all across those stamps, making sure to flip over my ink pad so my 2 dark areas meet up. I'll go ahead and press that down again. And because I have larger areas here, like the banner, the heart, and the little square, I might have to do this several times just to make sure I get good coverage. Again, I'm really giving that firm pressure. And then look how gorgeous that ombre is. And it was super, super easy to do with this pad. But again, if you don't want to use this style of pad and you want to create your own ombre look, grab yourself 2 or 3 colors of ink. Just make sure to use your little dauber when you do it. I used a larger one because I was only using 2 colors, but you can grab your smaller daubers as well and create the same kind of background. So again, I put that ink, making sure to switch so my 2 dark colors matched up. I'll press down again. And then once I lift up that lid, I'm going to have that gorgeous ombre color already done for me. And look how fabulous that is. All right, so you can see right here, I'm getting a medium tone, a light tone, and a darker tone. Now here's the 2 samples that I did, but I want to cut this one out. And I'm just going to cut out a few of these, just some of the larger pieces, so I can really have all these beautiful colors on a different background. So like I said, I did not have a chance to purchase the dies with this. So I'm very easily going to use my Fiskars cutters, or my Fiskars scissors rather, and just trim this down. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a white border around each piece that I cut out. And this is really easy to do because they're just really squares and circles that I'm cutting out here. Now, since I have everything trimmed down, I'm just coming to that last little circle part, and that's going to be my heart. I'm going to have an opportunity to pop up these pieces onto that card panel. And look how pretty that looks. All of those colors work so gorgeous together. Now we can go ahead and start making our card panel. I'm using a very nice, I think this is called Wild Cherry from Gina K. And I'm going to trim down this panel here that I just created with the ombre ink pads just a little bit, because I do want some of that red cardstock to be peeking through on the top and the bottom. So I have my Tim Holtz cutter here, my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to line this up along the edge. And I love this plastic guide because it kind of helps me know where I'm going to be trimming off my paper. I'll slide it in the other way. And again, I'm just leaving myself a little bit of a border at the top and the bottom. I don't want to cut directly to like my red squares here or my red design. I just want to trim it down just a little bit. And I'm also going to trim down the right side just so I can even it up with the left side that's trimmed a little bit closer to that heart. So this is really easy to do with a paper trimmer. You can just line it up on the edge. And what I love about this paper trimmer, it can get the smallest of cuts for me. All right, now it's time to build our card. So like I said, I wanted some of that red at the top and the bottom, but not necessarily on the side. I will grab my ATG gun. Now, if you wanted to, you could cut out more of these and have these popped up, but I just thought I would do an odd number, which in this case would be 3 elements popped up on this card panel. So I'm using a good amount of adhesive because I do want this to stick very well to that card panel. And I'll use my grid mat to help me line everything up. Now, if you guys are inspired by what you're seeing, please make sure to subscribe and also hit the bell so you won't miss out on anything that I have to share with you here on my YouTube channel. Now, since we have that done, I need to make my card base. So this is Neenah Solar White 110-pound paper, and I'm using my EK tools to go ahead and score myself a card base. Now I like to score it with the tool and which it comes with, but then I also like to reinforce it with my Teflon bone folder. I just find that that's so much easier for me. I'll go ahead and remove this off, and then I can go ahead and bring over my card panel. And look how pretty that looks. We have all kinds of love sentiments on here. I do see a little bit that's hanging off, and I just need to grab my larger scissors, and I can just go ahead and trim that down. And that's super easy to do if you have the longer scissors. If you have smaller scissors, it could be a little bit of a challenge, and I don't cut straight to begin with, so yeah, I totally need the bigger scissors. I'll grab my ATG gun again and go ahead and put this on this card base. Now, the card base is going to be a top folding card instead of a side folding card. I'll use my grid mat to help me line everything up, and then I can go ahead and press down this panel. If you guys have this stamp set, I would love to see what color combinations you come up with if you have a chance to do an ombre background. Like I said, you can buy the Hero Arts ombre background pads, or like I said, you can totally make your own ombre background. It's the flexibility in doing this kind of design is really limitless. As long as you don't pick colors that when they blend together, they become mud. Just keep that in mind. Remember your color wheel, people. Remember the colors that make brown and try to stay away from those unless that's a look that you're going for. Now I have popped up these elements with little foam squares. And this is just going to give me a nice little bit of height to this card without it really being overly bulky. And again, I just did that to the pieces that were larger. So as you can see, I did it with the heart, I did it with the banner, and I did it with the small square. At this point too, if you did not have the dies and you just want to trim out each separate little element, you can do that as well. I'll go ahead and pop up my banner one. And just look how gorgeous all of those colors that we used in those ink pads, look how beautifully they work together. And now for my last little square, I can go ahead and pop that up. And again, I have a little bit of dimension to this card, but not a lot. Now, since I have this all done, I felt like I needed to add a little bit more touch of white. So I grabbed my Jelly Roll pen, and I'm going to start scribbling on my finger to kind of get that ink moving. And then I'll go ahead and just place some faux dash lines around the top and the bottom of the card. And look at here, our card is done. Here is a close-up of what it looks like, and I absolutely love how it turned out. All right, everybody, that's day 2, and I'll see you back for day 3 tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.